can be me, and I'll drink all the time, 'cause we're lovers, that is a fact. Yes, we're lovers, that is that. Nothing will keep us together. We can steal time just for one day. We can be heroes.
Fala galera, bem-vindos a mais um Sonoridades. O episódio de hoje tá bem legal, é com o Boyd Owen, o Tenors. O papo foi na época que eles estavam para vir para o Brasil, para a turnê do Greatest Hits Live. Ele contou vários detalhes da carreira, do show. A gente teve até um bate-papo filosófico sobre inteligência artificial, e o que ele diria para ele mesmo anos atrás. Confiram, curtam, compartilhem, fortaleçam Sonoridades.
Boyd, thanks so much for your time for this interview. It's a pleasure to us to talk with you.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about this Brazilian tour of 10 Tenors. I know it's your third time here in Brazil, but the second time you're performing.
Yeah. The first time, as we all know, was March 2020, when everything changed, all of the clock stopped in the world. But finally, we got to come back last year, and it was a real dream come true. There were highlights. Not only the concerts, I remember performing at the Teatro Municipal in Rio de Janeiro, tasting all the different food around. You know, we were in Curitiba, we were in Belo Horizonte, we went to Brasilia. The other guys got to see the capital of Brazil with its famous architecture. And then also we got to sing on Faustão. I mean, that's incredible. We didn't know what to expect. It was crazy. It was so busy, so vibrant, so colorful. Faustão, he is a huge character. And we had a lot of fun with the performers and the dancers. And so we're very, very happy. There's a lot in our heart that is full to come back and do this all again in Brazil.
And since you already know that Brazilians are kind of crazy for music, so what are your expectations for this time here in Brazil?
Something funny. So I grew up in, well, we're from Australia. I grew up in Australia. And I've actually realized that Brazilians and Australians are pretty similar. We like to party, you know, we like a good time. We like a drink with our friends, and we like music. What I didn't expect was that in the show, people would be up out of their seats. They would be singing, they would be dancing. I guess it's something I should have expected. I mean, when you look at the culture of samba, you look at bossa nova, you look at carnaval, you know, it's unique. It's a really unique thing in all of the world. Brazilian music, for me, when I was very, very early age, even though I didn't speak Portuguese, I remember hearing these sounds of samba and bossa nova and these Afro-Brazilian rhythms, and they were really mesmerizing for me. And so I think that is just inside the Brazilian heart. And when they hear good music, when you feel good, you know, they respond. So I think we're expecting more of that. We've put this show together to be the best songs, the best show we can think of our whole 28 years. The 10 Tenors have been performing now for 28 years. We've performed in almost every continent, apart from Antarctica. We haven't been to sing for the penguins. We've sung for millions and millions of people all around the world. And the show that we're bringing to Brazil is kind of the whole heart, the energy, the history of the tenors, because we started out operatically, so it's kind of our operatic history, but we're bringing some of our biggest hits like Bohemian Rhapsody, Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, all these kind of things. And we're putting all of that into a single show, and that's what we're bringing this time to Brazil. So we're very excited about it. So I hope the public enjoys it as much as we hope they will.
I hope they will, and I know they will. And what can you spoil about the set list? I know you have some surprises for us, but what can you spoil?
What can I spoil? Well, I can tell you that we're bringing back Mais Que Nada. We did that last year. It was a big hit. We also did that on Fastão. There's one other very, very famous Brazilian song. I'm not going to tell you the name because that will be a surprise definitely in the show. But again, without naming the song, this is a song that encapsulates something that I think is similar between Australia and Brazil. It's a song about the arid landscape of the Northeast, in Bahia, around there. It's about longing, about nostalgia, and ultimately about hope. And Australia also has that landscape. It's beautiful, it's rugged. There's times when there's lots of harvest and bounty, and then there's times when it's a real drought. So the sentiments in that song are really beautiful, and we hope our version is as special to the Brazilian people as we know that song is. But apart from that, what we bring is a really, really unique mix. We have 10 singers, obviously, and these singers come from all kinds of backgrounds. So for me, I'm more of an operatic tenor. My history is in opera. Some of the other tenors are more music theater tenors. Some of them are more rock, pop. So because of that, we can really traverse a great many different genres of music. The 10 tenors definitely started out, 28 years ago in the opera. So I'm very excited for people to hear hits like Nessun Dorma, Granada, Brindisi from La Traviata by Verdi. But very soon they'll hear things that are a bit more familiar. We do this amazing medley of tributes to the greatest divas in rock and pop. And then right at the end, we do a tribute to the great Tina Turner herself with Proud Mary. And then we've got some of the things, again, this is our greatest hits from all over the world. The song we've had probably requested the most everywhere we go in the world, whether it's Europe or America or Australia, is Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. We have a very special relationship with our arranger, Stephen Baker. And Stephen was actually one of the original members of the group. He was the pianist for a long time, back when the group was just starting. And he is one of those genius musicians and arrangers. He eventually moved on from the group in terms of being a performer, but still does a lot of our arrangements. And outside of that, he's an amazing composer. He worked on the Avatar films in terms of their soundtrack and works a lot in London, in Abbey Road. Anyway, we're very excited because Stephen is making a guest appearance and he's coming back with us to be our pianist for this tour. We're very excited about that. So our version of Hallelujah was actually arranged by Stephen. Yeah, it's a really big mix. But I tell you what, we've got the voices, some of the best voices in the world. I don't mind saying that. Some of my best friends as well. And so we bring something very special, I think.
Well, I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do ya? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, and the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
what I saw about your concerts is that you kind of create a history between the classical themes and the pop songs. You kind of do like a roller coaster of feelings. So after more than 2,000 concerts, how
Mhm.
do you still feel nervous, anxious about it?
Well, that's a great question. I've been performing with the group almost 15 years now. It's gone very, very quickly. Now, I've done other things in between. I've done a lot of opera over in Europe and in Italy and Asia and the USA. I wouldn't say I get nervous anymore because I think this is an individual thing. As a performer, when I know that I'm rehearsed, I know the music, I know what's going to happen, then I feel very calm personally when I go on stage. But you know what I love? I love the excitement of the audience coming in, because to me, it's still amazing. Somebody has worked hard for their money and they trust us to buy a ticket, to spend their money, to give their time, to get dressed up, to go out to the theater, and allow us for a night to give them something very special. And this may sound a bit philosophical, but for me, I have a very simple but very ambitious idea of my performing, which is that I want the audience to be changed when they come in. People have all sorts of things going on in their lives. They have triumphs, they have sadness, they have loss, they have grief, they have struggle. And every individual person brings this to the theater, brings this to the concert hall. And what I want is to facilitate for them a conversation in themselves around what's going on in their life and what they need. Some people need to cry. We have songs that will make you cry. Some people just want to dance. We've got Mais Que Nada. Some people want cinematic, epic. Some people want a bit of culture. They want some opera. So we bring all of that, and I hope that that can connect to whatever that thing is in the people. And from the start of the show to the end of the show, they'll be changed. So I love that anticipation at the start of the show personally, and I love the smiles at the end of the show when people don't want it to finish. Does that make sense? A bit philosophical, but I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, because in the end, people always ask for more.
Always.
Always.
Everywhere around the world. We're very proud of this. You know, we've worked very hard. We listen to our audiences. We haven't done it so much over the last few years because of COVID, but for most of the history, every single show, we would go out afterwards and we would meet the audience. We would sign some CDs or different things like that. But every single show in every country, we would go out and we'd spend time, and people would tell us what they liked, what they didn't like. People would tell us the experiences. And this is where I developed this understanding that people come with all kinds of stories. And I feel quite honored, but I see it as a big responsibility to do a good job, create beautiful moments, transcendent moments, for people to have an unforgettable night. And that's what we're bringing to Brazil. Again, I'm repeating myself, but this is all of our 28 years of work in one concert. It's a lot.
And I think that to define the set list is kind of a struggle, because you have to define which team you're gonna play and who is gonna sing and how to mix all together. So how you do this?
Oof, that's a great question. There's a few things that go on. So I mentioned Stephen Baker. He was, again, one of the original members, and he's very much involved in the arrangements. But it also allows me to introduce probably our 11th member, and that's our longtime manager and producer, DJ Went. DJ has been with the group, again, basically the entire history. He has been the one who has been a driving force behind the different concepts of the show and the different themes. So it's a lot of DJ's producer concept to come up with things. Once he kind of has that, then there's a creative team who get involved. We have a music director, Michael Edwards. He'll be not only on the tour with us, but he's one of the tenors, so he's singing. And then it sounds, or maybe it doesn't sound funny, but we write many lists, and we think about it very carefully. This song, because not only do you want to put the best songs in, but they have to go in a really great order. They have to have moments of climax, and they have to have moments of rest for the audience. So to be honest, this process takes many months. You know, there's months and really years, certainly with the experience that we have, of thinking behind the show and what we put into it.
I know that this concert is greatest hits live, but it already recorded 13 albums. So how to I only think you have a lot of guts to record 13 albums of classical music in a times where people are kind of changing so fast about their consuming music so fast. And when you heard classical music, you have to relax, stop what you're doing, and how can I say, interiorize what you're listening. So how do you see this? Because after 13 albums, more than 2,000 concerts, you still are one of the best concerts and one of the best groups so far. So how do you see this?
Thank you for saying that. Look, it is incredible. This may sound philosophical again, but I think it comes back to authenticity as a musician. I think there's two ways you can go about making records. You can either go, what's happening in kind of the numbers in offices, in record, in record companies, that they're like, oh, this kind of music is selling now, so we want you to make this kind of album, or this kind of music is selling, so we want you to make this. That is a way that you can make albums. But I think the greatest artists, and again, this could just be my personal idea, they have something that is authentic within them that needs to get out, and that needs to have expression, and needs to respond to something that's in the world but is also within them. And even though our music fits into a genre, and widely that would be maybe the classical crossover genre, because yes, we have the classical things, but if you look at the list of our albums, we have things like, we have a Broadway album, we have a Christmas album, we have one called Double Platinum, which was this really interesting mix of some classical pieces, and then music theater, and then all these different things. We had one of the first albums I ever toured was called Nostalgica. It was all these kind of nostalgic 30s, 40s albums. Again, a lot of this comes from what's going on inside our producer, and him talking to our arrangers and talking to the music team, and together they all work together to kind of give voice to this authentic feeling that's inside. And so we've not really aimed at thinking, well, what's selling now? What's going on? But we've really thought about, DJ in particular has really thought about what is the authentic feeling of an artist bringing out. And there's one other thing that I'd add to that, and that is, as I said to you, we've done this for 28 years. before the pandemic, we met our audience every single night. We've grown up with them. There are some audience members who still write to me from tours 10 years ago. We've got audience members that will see, sometimes I'll ask the audience, you know, who's been here once, who's been here twice. And if I keep going, there's people who've been 10, 20, 30 times. So that's a lot of history that we've shared together and that we get to know. And so it sounds a little bit cliche, but we feel like a big family. And so we're not trying to make music for every single person in the world. We understand that someone who wants to go to an electronic dance music nightclub may not come to a Tenors concert, but the audiences who do come, we know them. They're in our hearts. We've grown up with them. We spend a lot of time with them. We love them. And so that kind of feeling with our audience connects with our artistic ideas. And there's a little bit of magic somehow that produces these albums. And I'm sure you won't mind me saying this, but sometimes when DJ has, you know, we've finished an album cycle, the album's been recorded, we've toured it, he's like, oh, how am I going to come up with the next idea? But it's like fashion. How are you going to come up with the next collection? It's like Steven Spielberg. How am I going to come up with my next? That's just how creativity works. You go back inside, you think about your audience, you think about what matters to you in the world. It's a bit of a long answer, but that's, I think, how we've managed to keep through so many different decades, a real connection to our audience, and why I think we've also been able to connect to new audiences like Brazil, because I think we have made a beautiful connection.
Yeah.
I see a little silhouette of a man. Scaramouche, will you do the fandango? Thunderbolts and lightning, very, very frightening me. Galileo, 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 Figaro. I'm just a poor boy, nobody loves me. He's just a poor boy from a poor family, sparing his life from his monstrosity.
And people here love Tenors, as we can see, as we know. And asked me to ask about something that is quite happening in the world right now. It's about creativity versus AI. How do you see this connection or these boundaries? How do you see that?
Oh, this is a huge question, and I love it. I love this question. And people may get very frustrated with me about this. I think AI is fantastic. I think we need to embrace AI. If I step back, I think about when I was a kid and thinking about maths. When I was doing mathematics at school, you know, we had very, very simple calculators that would do 1 + 1 = 2. As you got further on into higher grades, you ended up having to do very, very complex mathematics with, you know, different equations and different graphs and all that kind of thing. As time went on, we got better and better quality calculators that where you as a person who used to have to do all this work on your own, you could just put press a few buttons in a calculator and it would do that. That's how I see AI. I think AI is going to allow the most creative people in the world to be even more creative. The things that used to take hours and hours and hours will now not take hours. I think the fear is not a new fear. I think this is a universal fear that we have gone through all the time with new technology. I think back to the Industrial Revolution. We're in Australia. We're very connected to Britain. The same thing happened in Britain when people used to make all the textiles, all the linens, all the cloths, and then suddenly all these machines came out that could do the job of a person, do it a little bit better. And everyone thought, oh my goodness, this is going to be the death of creativity. This is going to be the death of everything. Even when things like Photoshop, do you know Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop? People are like, oh, artists are going to lose their creativity. They're not going to know how to do it. You know, it just didn't happen. Will there be a shift? Absolutely. Will there be adjustments that we all have to make? I think so. But I understand the fear. I understand it. But for me, I see it as one of the most exciting things, these fantastic new tools. It's like when the synthesizer came out in the 80s, people are like, oh, orchestras are going to disappear. We're never going to hear orchestras again. We're never going to hear the, human voice. That didn't happen. It was just new ways and new technologies to allow creativity to respond, in ways that they couldn't before. That's what I think about all the AI stuff. I have one more thing to say. I don't think AI is something to be afraid of. It's going to happen anyway. We should embrace it. We should learn how to live with it, and we should train people in how to be creative with it. Talking on a very, very personal level, I'm a singer. You will never replace the unique, transcendent, unmatched experience of a live voice. Yes, AI can make Freddie Mercury sing songs now that, even though he's dead for a long time, AI can make things sound like different things. But AI will never be able to stand on a concert platform and touch another person's heart with their organic, real, true voice. There will never be a superseding of that. I think AI will be involved. We'll have more and more amazing productions and more amazing effects on stage and all this kind of thing. But there is something otherworldly, extraterrestrial about the voice of a human connecting to another human's heart. You'll never replace this.
And this is a outstanding and awesome connection with this part of touching a heart with your voice, with your work, or something.
Yeah, that's why I'm not afraid of it. I really welcome it.
Yeah. And still talking about this part of touching people and on the internet, how do you see these people that are engaging with the tenors after hearing a song that they think is officially from tenors, and then they discover it's about, Verdi or Freddie Mercury or anything else, but they think that you recorded originally. So how do you see this?
When people hear us perform a song, and they say, oh, that's the 10 tenors, but it's actually originally from
Freddie Mercury or anything else, but they love the version of the tenors, and they don't care who recorded it originally, but they sound like surprised when they said, oh, this is a Freddie Mercury song. What?
Yeah. Well, look, it's a great honor, isn't it? It's a great honor. We often talk about the tenors, the voice of a tenor. When we think of a tenor, we immediately think of classical music. We think of Pavarotti, Domingo, this kind of voice. But Freddie Mercury, he was a tenor. The tenor is just a range that the voice can sing. We have a very famous singer here in Australia called John Farnham, and he's an amazing tenor. Even people like Harry Styles or I don't know, I'm trying to think of some Brazilian, famous male Brazilian singers, but they're not coming to mind right now. They're all tenors. And so we see ourselves as part of that great legacy and that great history. Again, I think of it a little bit like the fashion world. In the fashion world, they don't have any problem referencing each other. A new collection will come out and they're like, oh, that reminds me of Yves Saint Laurent in 1960 when he had that first dress that did this. And oh, that reminds me of Chanel when, you know, sometimes in the music industry, we can get a little bit we're scared to allow, what am I trying to say? We don't want people to steal things. We feel like there's so much about copyright. I think even in movies they have this understanding in a better way that, you know, a modern director will reference directors that they admire, and so together this is the whole world of creation kind of building on people we admire. We've never been afraid of this. We've never been afraid of this. We're like, oh my goodness, I love that song. I love that song. I want to sing that song. This is what going back to how do we produce our albums. There's something inside when we hear some of these songs that kind of rises up inside us and we're like, we could do a good version of that. And for sure, through our years and years of recording and concerts, we have actually developed a style that is the 10 tenors style. When you hear it, when you hear the way our arrangements work, when you hear the way the voices blend, we definitely have a signature kind of sound. And when we hear something that inspires us, it's very exciting to do our own version of that. And coming back to where I started, it's never in our minds the idea that, oh, this is better than the original. And you weren't saying that, you know, it's never that in our minds. It's always a tribute. It's always continuing this creative process. It's creating more creativity. And so when some people tell us your version of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, your version of Bohemian Rhapsody, your version of Oh Holy Night, the Cantique de Noël, is my favorite, I mean, that just gets you in the heart, doesn't it? Because we worked very hard on that. You know, we want people to have that experience. So ultimately, it's a huge, it's very flattering, and it's very heartwarming for us. Again, like can I just say one more thing about this? We were nervous about Mais Que Nada. These guys from Australia coming into Brazil to do one of Brazil's most famous songs that Sergio Mendes and Jorge Ben, these fathers of Brazilian music. How do we dare to kind of get involved in this history? Well, that's what we've always done. When something inspires us and gets us excited, we want to have a go. And look, to be honest, Mauricio, it's not always a success. We've done some versions of songs. We've done them for a couple of weeks. We never do them again, because they just didn't work for us. We were inspired, but but when it does work, it's magic. And that's what we've put together for the greatest hits.
Yeah.
The club isn't the best place to find a lover, so the bar is where I go. Me me and my friends at the table doing shots, drinking fast, and then we talk slow. And you come over and start up a conversation with just me, and trust me, I'll give it a chance. And now I take my hand, stop, put Van the Man on the jukebox, and then we start to dance. And I'm singing like, girl, you know I want your love. Your love was handmade for somebody like me. Come on now, follow my lead. I may be crazy, don't mind me. Say, boy, let's not talk too much. Grab on my waist and put that body on me. Come on now, follow my lead. Come on now, follow my lead. I'm in love with the shape of you. We push and pull like a magnet do. Although my heart is falling too. I'm in love with your body.
Why they still have 3 minutes of in this meeting. I have one question. There's a tricky question. So if it stands, I open this room again for the answer. Okay. So what Boyd of the version of Boyd on 2023 would say to the version of Boyd as a kid, and the kid Boyd would tell to Boyd of 2023?
Mauricio, this is like the great philosophy question. Oh my goodness. Let's start with what I would say, 2023 Boyd to my young Boyd. And I'll try not to cry. It's a very simple idea. There are a lot of voices in the world that shout from outside at you. All of these voices have an opinion about who you should be, what you should do, how you should live in the world, how you should respond. And then there's another voice, and that's a voice that's deep inside. And this voice is quieter, and it takes time to develop. And a lot of the years of your life, this is talking very personally, you know, this may not be the same for other people, but that voice can be drowned out by all these other voices that shout at you. As you grow and you learn, try to discern that quiet voice inside you, because that voice is the source of your creativity. That voice is the artist, the person, the friend, the brother, the son, that has a whole lot of things inside that need to come out to connect to people. That voice is a voice that other people need to hear. Some people will only be able to connect to themselves by connecting to you as you learn about that voice. It takes a lot of work to filter out all that other noise and learn what that quiet voice is saying to you. If you can do that, little Boyd, you will find your way. And I say that kind of stepping out of that idea, because for much of my life, I let those other voices tell me what to do. I think we all have this kind of experience in life. It's the every person journey to learn, well, who am I? What does the inside of me rise up to respond to the world like? So that's what I would say. It's very simple. It's a lifelong thing. You'll still be learning to do it when you're 40, in the same way you were learning to do it when you were 12. But that is your compass. That is your star to follow. So that's what I would say to my young self. What my young self might say to me now is, in a similar way, take time to look back at me Because the little me, if I said to him, I'll give you an example. The other day I was chatting with a friend and they're like, oh, what are you doing in the next few weeks? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to Brazil next week. And then I'm coming back and then I've got concerts here and then I'm back in. And my friend is like, you're going to Brazil? Because for Australians, this is exotic. This is like this faraway, incredible land of culture and food and dance and music. And I'm like, oh, yeah. This little Boyd dreamed of travel and music, and it was a very simple dream actually, just to travel for a living and make a living singing. I'm doing that, and sometimes I can be so busy I forget to look back at that little kid who's just amazed at the way that the dreams have come true. Because obviously as you grow up, your dreams change, your dreams get bigger, you achieve some things, you don't achieve other things, you get frustrated with some things, you're triumphant in some things. But we forget that there's a little 5-year-old or a little 9-year-old that had very, very big dreams. And that little kid might be very, very amazed to see where you are now. So that's what I think he would say. Take a moment, look back, remember what your dreams were, and you know, be happy, be proud, have gratitude. Yeah.
It's a nice thinking. Not very people think about it.
Well, it's not many people get asked that question. I've never been asked that question in an interview. You asked some very good questions, Mauricio. It's very, very thoughtful.